Hey guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is going to be my September reading wrap up, and I had a really good month. Ever since the pandemic started, I have been doing a lot of reading, a lot of audiobooks, just because there's really not much to do. So this month was no exception. I read 15 stories, and I say stories because I have 12 books here, and then I listened to 3 Audible Originals. I had Audible a few months ago. I canceled, but anyway, I have a ton of like Audible original stories that I need to go through, so I figured this month I would listen to a few of them, and I listened to 3, so that's where the 15 comes. I'm going to get started. I'm going to go kind of quick because it's 15 and I don't want this video to be super long. As always, I'm going to start with my reading A to Z challenge. I had 6 letters left from the alphabet to complete, and I was able to finish 4 this month, so I'm going to start with those stories first. So for the letter F, I kind of cheated a little bit because I don't really have a book that starts with the title F, so I went with White Fragility. There's the second word, it starts with an F, and this is by Robin DiAngelo. I was kind of conflicted, which I think is kind of the point of this book. The author does a really good job about explaining why you shouldn't try to sympathize with, I want to say mainly black, like white people try to sympathize with non-whites just because they have never known how, they have never dealt with the situation that non-whites do, and even when things through history were done to advance like people's rights, it never really affected non-whites. So it's something that I remember very clearly from this book, is how it talks about how women weren't able to vote until whenever that happened. Shame on me for not knowing, but in reality, like black women, it didn't happen to all women. Black women had to wait until the 1960s to be able to vote. So kind of things like that, it talks about in this book. And then the thing that like conflicted me was like sometimes this book said things that made me think that I was a racist. So there were some things that I didn't agree with, but because I didn't agree, then I was like, well, does that mean I'm a racist? I don't know. It was a little bit conflicting. So I don't know if that's good or bad, and I hope you guys don't think less of me. But I did enjoy it, and I do recommend it. The next letter that I read was for the letter N, and for that I went with The Night Country by Melissa Albert. This is kind of a sequel to The Hazelwood. So in this story, we follow our main character Alice, and we follow one of the dark stories that her grandmother told, but this one is told from, it's kind of two storylines that as the book progresses, each storyline weaves into each other. It's still very, not dark as in violent, but dark as in creepy, but it's not scary. I don't know how to describe it. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first one. If the author came out with a 3rd book, I would consider reading it. The next letter that I was able to complete was the letter R, and for that I read Roar by Cora Carmack. Actually, I read Roar and its sequel, Rage. And I just wanted to talk about both of them at the same time, just because I can't talk much about the second one because it's a series. But anyway, Roar is by Cora Carmack. In these books, we follow our main character. What is her name? Aurora, and she's a princess. In this book, if I remember correctly, you develop, when you become of a certain age, you develop powers that you can create storms with your powers. And it turns out that she has turned, of age, and she still hasn't developed any of these powers. So in order for her kingdom to be saved, she has been engaged to another prince who does have these powers, to hide the fact that she doesn't have these powers. But as we follow along through the story, it turns out that she can't develop these powers on her own, but she can actually steal them. So this is something that has never happened before. No, this hasn't happened to anyone. So she's trying to keep it a secret, because that puts her in danger, because it makes her more dangerous, because she can take the powers from other people. first book, I think I gave 4 stars. The second book, I gave 3 stars, I believe, because there is a love triangle that I kind of thought was kind of cheesy, and I wasn't really into it. So third book, I gave 3 stars. The second book. The third book comes out, I think, sometime next year, and the name is Rain. I was hoping that it would be on Book Outlet because I got both of these on Book Outlet, but it's not, and I looked it up and it doesn't come out till next year, so I'm excited to finally get it and finish up the trilogy. And the last letter that I completed for my A to Z was the letter U, and for that I read The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Madston. I really enjoyed this book. For this book, we follow our main character, Andy. She is graduating high school, I believe, and she's the daughter of a politician, and she's pretty much raised herself because her dad's always been busy with work and it's just been her. So she's very excited to finally go away for the summer. She's been accepted at this internship, and she has plans to go for the summer. And the thing is that her dad is coming out of a huge scandal, and her acceptance to this program that she had applied to for the internship, they rescind her acceptance. Is that the word? Like, they take it back because of what happened with her dad. So now she's super devastated. She has to stay home for the summer with a dad she doesn't get along with at all. And so she gets a job walking dogs, and I love dogs, so that was a real special part of the book. And it's a cute story. This is like over 500 pages, but I read it super fast. It's a really nice contemporary. It's really cute. It has kind of a little romance, but it's not insta-lovey at all. I truly enjoyed it, and I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Now guys, real quickly, I want to review the Audible Originals that I listened to. The first one was The Conception of Terror, Tales Inspired by M.R. James, Volume 1. I guess there are several of these. I only have Volume 1. And for this one, it was a collection of 4 ghostly short stories. Each one has a full cast, so it sounds like you're listening to like a movie. It has music and background noises and then different actors. It's acted very well. However, I felt like the first story was the best one. It was super creepy and really scary, and then they got less creepy and less scary as we listened through all 4 stories. I gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars. However, I wish they had better endings. I feel like all of them, they just ended abruptly, and you were left with wanting more. So I think that's a positive of it. That means I was really invested in the stories, and when they finished, I was like, what, that's it? I really did enjoy them, but I don't think I would seek out the other volumes. The next Audible original story that I listened to was The Sisters by Dervla McTiernan. This is supposed to be a prequel to a story, like a series, the Cormac Riley series, I guess. And in this story, we follow 2 sisters who are kind of climbing the criminal justice system ladder in Dublin, and they're investigating a murder of a young girl, and her boyfriend, of course, is the prime subject. So they have to kind of go through the evidence and all this mystery because it looks like the guy is being framed for it. I saw the bad guy coming like maybe an hour within the story. It is over 3 hours long, but I as soon as they introduced this specific character, I knew that they were the bad guys. So I wasn't surprised when we were to discover that they were in fact the bad guys. It was a quick read. It was entertaining, but it was nothing that I thought it was like out of this world. Then the last Audible that I listened to was Body of Proof, and this is actually a true crime story. This one was my favorite out of all the 3 ones that I listened to. This is by Jarrell Brown and Sophie Ellis, and for this we're following a kind of a cold case from Dublin again. Oh no, this is in Edinburgh, so it's in Scotland. And for this, we are following this investigation that these 2 guys are doing about this guy who has been convicted. He's been in jail for 7 years already, convicted of killing his girlfriend. The thing is that there is no forensic evidence, there is no body, there's no DNA, there are no witnesses. There's nothing. So these 2 people are trying to investigate how could it have possibly been that the jury found this guy guilty even though all the evidence that they were presented with was circumstantial. This was so good. I loved it. it made me kind of think like, well, did he do it? Did he not do it? Is he wrongly convicted? Like, what's going on? And of course, we have no answers. I just thought it was really interesting how this guy was convicted with based on a case that was solely circumstantial. It just blew my mind. And that's something that they talk about, how can it be that this guy, there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints, there's no body, no witnesses. How can they have convicted this guy of first-degree murder? But there you have it. Really, really good. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Body of Proof on Audible. If you haven't, listen to it. Now for the stories that I read physically, my goodness, I'm going to try to go super, super fast. I have here A Higher Loyalty by James Comey. This, we follow the story about the ex-director of the FBI who was appointed by Dr. Obama, by President Obama, and then was fired by President Trump. I really enjoyed this book. It's nonfiction, obviously. He talks about his career. I believe he started as Attorney General, I think, and then eventually got promoted. I really enjoyed this book. I honestly didn't feel like it was biased, like it favored one party over the other. I felt like it was really nonpartisan. It's just his story, what he went through, his thoughts, and what he thought about everything that happened. I had no idea who he was. Don't kill me. I'm really bad about keeping up with politics and stuff. But yeah, really, really entertaining. Not entertaining. I feel bad about saying that it's entertaining, but I was really immersed in the story. Let's just say that. Then on the other side of the spectrum, I read On the Fence by Casey West. This is a cute contemporary YA story. We follow this young girl who is raised by her dad and her, I think, 3 or 4 brothers. I can't remember. But she's kind of a tomboy who has always been around boys, and then she grows up and she becomes a little lady and she starts attracting the attention of boys, but there's one boy that she hopes to attract the attention of, and it's kind of like her figuring out, you know, that she is growing up, and this other boy that she has grown up with starts noticing her being a lady. And yeah, it's a really cute story. It's like less than 300 pages. Read it super fast. Highly recommend. Well, it's a cute book to read. I gave it 3 stars. Then a book that I cannot tell you guys anything about is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the 3rd and final book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. I started reading it last month and I finally got to it this month and I finished it, and this is the finale, so I can't talk a lot about what Daughter of Smoke and Bone is. You can Google it if you want to, but this book, I gave it a 3 stars. Unfortunately, this series was kind of like a 3.5 for me. The first book I loved, the second book, but I thought it was and I was hoping this book would redeem the whole series and bring everything together. It did, but I wasn't as invested as I was in the first book. Read at your own risk. Then I read The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. I read Geekerella a few months ago, maybe it was last year, I don't even remember, but I really enjoyed it, and this was no different. Now, I have never read The Prince and the Pauper, but it's about, you know, 2 people who switch places. I don't know if in the original story they switch places on purpose or by accident, but in this book they switch places by accident. We follow our main this girl who is the actress, I can't remember the names, the actress of a very popular movie series which she hates playing, and she's kind of done with playing the actor, the part. And then we have the fangirl. She's like super, you know, fanatic of the series, and she wants the character to keep going on to the series, whereas she wants the character to just end. And she happens to be in the bathroom when they're like, hey, you're supposed to be, you know, in this press conference release type thing, and they take her in her place, and so she gives the interview instead of her, and everybody knows that she hates her character, that she's hoping to get out of the series and just be over with it. But when she gives the interview, she's like, we need to save this character, we need to keep her storyline going, and everybody's like, what in the world? She like hates the character, why would she want to keep playing it? So yeah, we follow the repercussions after that disastrous press conference. It was really cute. I enjoyed it. Not as much as Geek Gorilla, but I'm excited to read the third installment in the series. The next book that I read was Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. This is a kind of historical fiction romance. I didn't think it was going to be as romantic. There was some like romance stuff here that was pretty heavy, I think, and I wasn't expecting it just because of the cover. But anyway, this is a historical fiction novel. We follow this girl, what is her name, Annabelle, who has been given an scholarship to attend Oxford University, and one of the conditions to keep her scholarship is to be part of the women's suffrage movement, and she's supposed to get men to join the movement. She ends up not hitting on, but trying to engage this guy Montgomery, who turns out he is like the head of the opposing side of the women's suffrage. And of course, you know, they say opposites attract, and they start developing attraction for each other, and their little romance ensues from there. It was really cute. Honestly, I was expecting more because I heard so much hype about this book, but I did end up enjoying it. There were some things, like I said, I wasn't expecting, but I think she's coming out with a second book, and I'm excited to read it. So if you're into historical fiction and romance books, I think you'll like this. Then I read Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This book, of course, was a very popular movie on Netflix a while back. Was it last year? Around this time last year? So I had watched the movie and I wanted to just read the book. I was interested in reading the book, and actually I enjoyed the book as much as I enjoyed the movie. Of course, it's different. Some of the little details are different. As I was reading it, I was kind of playing the movie in my head, and some details and how things happened are different in the book than in the movie, but it didn't affect it so much that I thought, you know, one was better than the other. I think they both did a really good job in telling the story, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I can't take anything away from it, or the movie. I think they both did great, and it made me want to watch the movie. I haven't watched it again, but I really hope to watch the movie soon. I really enjoyed it. Then last but not least, I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is my second book. The first one I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I really enjoyed this. I actually listened to this on audiobook. This was available over my library on Overdrive. I've tried Libby, and to me, it's the same thing as Overdrive. If you guys have Libby, can you tell me if it's different than Overdrive? Please, because I don't know how to work it. But anyway, this was an excellent audiobook. I felt like I was listening to an True Hollywood story. And at the end of this book, I actually Googled to see if Daisy Jones and the Six was real people or if it was really a fictional story. It's that realistic. It has a full cast, so it makes it even more realistic. It's not like one person trying to, you know, make different voices for each character. No, each character was a different person, and I loved it. I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really picky about my 5 stars. If I was super specific, I would give this like 4.5. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I felt like I was listening to an True Hollywood story. If you're old enough, you know what that is. If you're not, I'm sorry. But anyway, guys, those are all the books that I read in the month of September. I know this was a long video. I'm so sorry. I hope my reviews made any sense. If you guys wish to follow me on Goodreads, my link is always in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.